I didn't have the highest expectations going into Predator Badlands, but I have to say this movie absolutely rocks and I can't wait to talk about it, so let's just dive right into this thing. So in this movie we follow Deck, a predator who has been labeled the runt and the weakest of his clan. So in order to prove himself and earn his spot, he sets out to hunt a dangerous creature and meets an unlikely friend along the way. But with that said, as always, before we get started, if you're new here, my name is Aaron and I talk all things movies and TV, but really mostly movies, so if you're into that sort of thing, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me, and while you're at it, hit that like button as well. And of course, if you've already seen the movie, let me know your thoughts on it down below in the comments, but without further ado, let's talk about Predator Badlands. Jumping right into the good, and the first thing I have here is just how fresh this movie felt because it takes on a much different tone than the previous Predator movies. And given that this franchise has been around for quite some time now, it can be considered a risk to switch up the feeling and tone of this movie, but in my opinion, this is a risk that paid off. This has a much lighter and fun tone, and for the first time ever, the Predator is actually the main character who is a fully fleshed out character who goes on his own character arc, and you actually grow a sense of empathy for him as this movie goes on. It expands this Predator universe as we start on their home planet, and this movie gives them their own language as well. It has some humor mixed in there, and I can't believe I'm about to say this about a Predator film, but it has some charm to it as well. And the main reason for that charm is its characters, more specifically its main characters in Deck and Thea. But these two are really my next positive about this movie. Starting with Deck, he was our Predator and main character in this, and I have to say, visually, he looked great. He was played by Demetrius Schuster Colomantangi. I really hope I said that right. But anyways, for the most part, I'm pretty sure he was in a practical Predator suit, and then of course they did mocap for his face and things like that, but the Predator looked really good in this movie and I really liked his design. As I said before, he is considered the runt of his clan, so he goes off on this hunt to prove himself, and along the way that's where he meets Elle Fanning's character, and from there it kind of turns this into a buddy movie. It was their dynamic that really makes this film what it is. It became a story about found family and belonging, which is obviously a huge pivot from previous Predator films. Dan Trachtenberg was somehow able to humanize a predator. He took this creature from another world that we have known to just be these fierce, violent, killing machines and gave him human problems. Without spoiling it, it's the events that happen in the beginning of this movie on his home planet that really lay the groundwork for his character. So from that moment on, you are cheering for Deck all the way through because he is the underdog in this story. For Elle Fanning, her character really brought the charm of this movie. She was this synthetic robot that was on this planet for the same reason as Deck, hence leading to their team up, and as they go on this journey, they not only learn more about themselves, but each other as well, and that's where Dan Trachtenberg really subverts your expectations for this movie. For most of this film, you feel like you're building up to this one big moment, but once we get to that big moment, this movie goes in a different direction, and that different direction actually works in my opinion. But even with how different this movie is and feels, he is still able to keep it a Predator movie, which leads me to the action. Now, if you're someone that's worried about that PG-13 rating, I would say you have absolutely nothing to worry about because you do not feel that rating at all in this movie. The action is still violent, brutal, and just an absolute blast to watch in this thing. The only thing that's different is that there is no red blood, since this time we're killing creatures and these synthetic robots, so there is blood, but it's purple or some type of other color. Plus, there's absolutely just no humans in this movie at all to kill, so that's kind of how they got away with that PG-13 rating. When we get to those action scenes, even though Deck is considered the runt of his clan, he is still very capable of kicking some you-know-what, so those action scenes are just as cool as they were in the previous movie, and really is the thing that makes you feel like you are still watching a Predator movie. Moving on to the so-so, and the only thing I have here is that the humor was a little hit or miss for me. I do think it fit into the movie for the the most part, there were some jokes that got some chuckles out of me, but I could count those occurrences on probably a couple of fingers. I just had a weird experience with the humor in this thing because it felt like when this movie was trying to be funny, it wasn't, but when it wasn't trying to be funny, it was. A lot of the humor came from this unlikely relationship between this synthetic robot and this predator, and there was just something so funny about watching these two interact because they were so different from one another. But there were also moments when this movie was clearly trying to get a laugh out of you, and those moments didn't always work for me. And finally, getting into the bad, and the only thing I have here is that I do think it takes this movie a little bit of time to really find its footing. I think it has a great start on the home planet of the predators, but until we get to the middle of this movie, I have to say I was a little bit worried. Everything in between the beginning and middle of this film, outside of Deck meeting Thea, was pretty much just Deck fighting this creature, moving on to the next location and fighting another creature or getting past another obstacle, and it just started to slightly get repetitive until we got to the middle of this film. But once we got to, I would say, that 40 to 45 minute mark in this movie, that's when their dynamic really starts to shine. This movie finds its footing and it's awesome from there on out. But for my final thoughts, this was a fun movie. It takes on a new tone and brings a breath of fresh air to this franchise. It's an underdog story about found family and gives us two cool new characters that have a great dynamic. It still has the action that makes this feel like a Predator movie and does a great job at continuing to expand this Predator universe. So on my personal tier list, it goes in the good for me and is a movie that you need to see. Those are my thoughts on Predator Badlands. Be sure to let me know what you thought of the movie down in the comments, and as always, be sure to like, subscribe, comment. God bless, and I'll see you guys later. Peace. Hey, thanks for watching to the end of the video. Be sure to subscribe, and here's some more cool videos you may like. Alright, that's all I got. Peace.